The story begins at Tongil High School in Seol, South Korea. The summer sun blazes down on the athletic field, turning the air heavy and oppressive. Sweat clings to every student running laps while the physical education coach barks orders from the sidelines. He shouts that slowing down because of the heat will only make the exhaustion worse, and tells the students to keep moving. After watching the next group finish, he calls out that Group 3 should get ready. Among the students in that group is Kim Seol, a second-year student who is clearly struggling. Her breathing grows uneven as she runs, the heat pressing down on her like a weight. She fans her face with one hand while tugging at the collar of her track jacket with the other, trying to pull in a bit of cooler air. Her cheeks are flushed bright red, and the sunlight feels almost unbearable. Eventually, the heat becomes too much. Seol slips away from the field and quietly heads back into the school building, hoping to cool off for a moment before returning outside. The hallway is calm and silent compared to the chaos of the athletic field. She pushes open the door to her classroom, expecting the empty room to offer a brief moment of relief. Instead, she freezes. A boy is crouched beside her desk. He leans forward far too close to the surface of the desk and draws in a long, deliberate breath as if he is smelling something. The moment he notices her, Jeong Su-hyeon startles violently and jumps to his feet. He immediately calls out her name in surprise. He hurriedly insists that she has every right to misunderstand the situation, but claims that the scene is not what it looks like. He explains that there is no reason for her to worry, because he has already inspected her desk carefully and confirmed that it is completely safe. His explanation only makes things worse. Without a second of hesitation, Kim Seol drives a sharp dropkick straight into his face. Su-hyeon crashes to the floor. Standing above him, Seol fumes with anger. She declares that he has been bothering her constantly ever since transferring to the school. Her voice sharpens as she accuses him of harassing her every single day. The look on her face grows darker, and the glare she directs down at him carries an intensity that borders on threatening. Su-hyeon clutches his head in pain and urgently begs her to pause and hear him out. Seol refuses to listen. She insists that she has finally caught him red-handed and openly labels him a complete creep. At that moment, the classroom door swings open. Another student rushes inside. Lee Hyeon-Ah, also a second year, explains that she heard a loud crash while passing by the classroom and came to check what had happened. She immediately looks towards Seol with concern and asks if she is all right. Seol quickly composes herself and brushes off the situation. She casually remarks that she simply caught something. Hyeon-Ah tilts her head in confusion, clearly puzzled by the vague answer. She glances around the classroom and notices that it appears completely empty. She questions Seol about who had been inside the room just moments earlier. Seol turns around. The space where Su-han had been lying on the floor is now empty. He is gone. Shock spreads across her face as she stares at the spot, unable to explain how he disappeared so quickly. Seeing her confusion, Hyeon-ah suggests that the extreme heat might be getting to her and making her imagine things. Outside the classroom window, unnoticed by either of them, Su-hyeon clings tightly to the narrow ledge of the building. His body presses flat against the wall as students walk through the classroom behind him. His expression remains calm and unreadable as he hides himself from view. That night, the scene shifts to a small apartment filled with scattered belongings and dim lighting. A voice praises Su-hyeon for the work he carried out earlier that day. He sits on a worn couch and shrugs slightly, dismissing the compliment. He calmly explains that what he did was nothing special. The person speaking to him is Sung Chae-rin, the leader of Nest Domestic Team 2. She responds firmly that he should not minimize what happened because his actions prevented something potentially dangerous. She refers to the individual he reported earlier that day. At that same moment, a retrieval team discovers the captured suspect. The agents open a locker and find a man completely wrapped in layers of green tape and crammed tightly inside. One member of the team stares at the bizarre sight and wonders aloud whether this is really how operations are handled overseas. Back in the apartment, Chae-rin studies a file and explains that the captured individual was a minor operative who had been caught planting a bomb inside a desk shortly after arriving at the school. Su-hyeon analyzes the situation calmly. He concludes that the enemy was likely testing their defenses with a small and relatively harmless move. Chae-rin agrees with his assessment. She explains that this was exactly the type of probing action she expected. According to her, the real conflict has only just begun. She then reveals the reason the school has become such a dangerous place. Kim Seol, an 18-year-old student, is currently a candidate to become the next leader of North Korea. Standing in front of a board filled with photographs of several young individuals, Chae-rin explains that these candidates are essentially participants in a brutal competition to determine who will eventually rule the country. A faint smile appears on her face as she remarks that the entire situation is merciless. She turns towards Su-hyeon and addresses him directly as the youngest agent in their organization. She instructs him to listen carefully. She reminds him that Kim Seol's life now depends entirely on their protection and warns him that the days ahead will only become more difficult. Jeong Su-hyeon, known as the youngest black operative in the National Intelligence Service, accepts the responsibility without hesitation. Chae-rin orders him to remain close to Seol at school and continue protecting her from potential threats. After giving the instruction, she casually asks whether he has managed to make any friends while maintaining his cover. Su-hyeon remains silent. Chae-rin raises an eyebrow and comments with mild surprise that transfer students usually struggle socially at first. She glances down at him sitting on the floor and asks directly whether he truly has not made even a single friend. Su-hyeon responds firmly that the absence of friends does not interfere with the success of his mission. Chae-rin drapes an arm around his shoulders and explains that the issue is not about personal preference. She tells him that blending in with other students is essential for maintaining his cover. She stresses that the mission cannot be compromised under any circumstances and gives him a clear order to start making friends. Su-hyeon immediately straightens and responds with a stiff and slightly nervous affirmation. The following day, bright sunlight pours into the hallways of Tongle High School. Su-hyeon peeks cautiously from behind a locker. His expression is serious as he quietly repeats the word, friend, under his breath again and again, as if trying to memorize it like an important mission objective. Across the hallway, Kim Seol spots him. Her face twists with open irritation. She points him out to Hyeon-ah and remarks that the boy is unbelievably strange and undeniably creepy. Hyeon-ah lets out a small, awkward laugh and admits that he does seem rather intense. She wonders aloud why he behaves in such an unusual way. Meanwhile, whispers spread among several nearby students. A group of girls begins gossiping about Seol, claiming that she is a compulsive liar. The murmuring grows louder. The constant noise quickly begins to irritate Seol. Without hesitation, she marches directly toward the girls. She challenges them openly and demands that if they truly have something to say about her, they should repeat those insults directly to her face. The girls immediately shrink back, intimidated by her confidence. Hyeon-ah watches the entire scene in amazement as Seol stands her ground without hesitation. Seol then turns back toward her friend with a small, mocking smile and remarks that people like those girls always act brave when they believe no one is paying attention. Meanwhile, on the other side of the hallway, Su-hyeon continues whispering the word, friend, to himself, looking increasingly troubled. Later that day, inside a cluttered storage room, Su-hyeon searches through various supplies. Suddenly, the door of a nearby locker bursts open. A messy-haired boy tumbles out. The boy immediately announces that he has been discovered but assures that he will quickly resolve the situation. He falls awkwardly onto the floor while Su-hyeon watches the strange entrance in silence. The boy calmly adjusts his glasses and explains that he had no choice but to break cover because someone nearby needed help. After observing Su-hyeon for a moment, he casually comments that Su-hyeon appears to be someone who urgently needs a friend. He then asks whether Su-hyeon has any interest in the military. With theatrical flair, the boy strikes a dramatic pose, pointing imaginary finger guns while winking confidently as he waits for a response. Su-hyeon remembers Chae-rin's earlier advice about asking classmates about their interests as a way to build connections. He responds by stating that he does, in fact, like the military. The boy's face immediately lights up. He enthusiastically declares that this means the two of them are now friends. He introduces himself as Park Min-duk and proudly describes himself as a military expert. From the hallway outside, Kim Seol observes the interaction between the two boys. Her gaze remains cautious and suspicious as she watches them. A moment later, a blonde student approaches her while whispers ripple through the corridor. He politely asks whether she has a moment to talk in private. Seol sighs as he asks about her plans after school. She suggests that they continue the conversation outside instead of discussing it in the hallway. The boy smiles with quiet confidence and agrees that meeting outdoors sounds perfect. Later that day, the two of them stand alone on the school rooftop. Empty cans are scattered across the ground, evidence that the area is rarely cleaned. The blonde boy looks around with slight disappointment and comments that confessing his feelings in such a messy place feels rather underwhelming and poorly timed. On the rooftop, Kim Seol looks at the blonde boy with obvious boredom. Her gaze drifts across him as if she already expects what he is about to say. In a dry tone, she asks whether he brought her all the way up there just to confess his feelings. The boy chuckles, clearly amused by her bluntness. He says that the idea itself entertains him. Then he places a hand over his chest with theatrical flair and announces that she should date him. He confidently adds that she would regret missing the opportunity to invest in the future career of a rising soccer star. The smug expression on his face makes it clear that he already assumes she will accept. Seol answers him with open ridicule. She bursts into laughter directly in his face and raises a censored middle finger, making her rejection unmistakable. The blonde boy stiffens in place, completely caught off guard by how harsh and unfiltered her response is. His surprise quickly turns to anger. He demands to know whether she is deliberately looking down on him. Seol does not bother responding. She simply turns away and walks toward the rooftop stairwell, dismissing him as if he no longer exists. Behind her, the boy shouts after her, his voice rising with frustration. Unable to control his temper, he rushes forward and yells that she should stop acting superior and looking down on other people. In his frustration, he kicks a nearby soda can. The empty can spins through the air, flying directly toward Seol's back. Before it can reach her, Jeong Su-hyeon suddenly appears. With perfect timing, he kicks the can midair. The impact redirects it straight back toward the blonde boy. The can slams into the boy and bursts open, spraying sticky soda all over his face and uniform. The boy sputters in shock, wiping the sugary liquid from his eyes. Furious and humiliated, he demands to know who Su-hyeon thinks he is for interfering. Su-hyeon answers him only with a cold, piercing stare. There is something predatory in his gaze, something so sharp and unsettling that the blonde boy instinctively steps backward. In that moment, he becomes convinced that Su-hyeon is not normal. Seol watches the exchange with clear surprise. Suddenly the blonde boy lets out a high, panicked scream. He rants wildly that the two of them are clearly insane, and that they must be the same type of people, birds of a feather. Without waiting for a reply, he bolts toward the stairwell. As he runs away, he shouts one final warning over his shoulder. Seol mutters under her breath that he is an idiot. Her annoyance immediately shifts to Su-hyeon. She calls him a creep and insists that he is no better than the other boy. She demands to know what his real intentions are and bluntly asks whether he likes her. Su-hyeon pauses. He remembers the instructions he received about showing personal interest, in order to blend in with classmates. After a brief moment of thought, he calmly states that he likes her. He unintentionally forgets to add that he likes her as a friend. A strong breeze sweeps across the rooftop as the two stand facing each other in silence. Seol stares at him in disbelief. She shouts that what he just said makes absolutely no sense. Su-hyeon calmly repeats that he likes her. Seol becomes visibly flustered. She stammers awkwardly and demands to know whether he is suggesting that the two of them are going to start dating. Su-hyeon responds evenly that they will definitely not be dating. Her anger falters for a moment, replaced by confusion. She studies his expression closely, trying to determine whether he is serious. Su-hyeon answers with unwavering certainty. He declares that he intends to protect her until the very end because he likes her. Later, an official observation report notes that the target's behavior has slightly changed since the morning. According to the recorded observations, Seol appears mildly anxious during class. She seems distracted and spends much of the time writing repeated notes in her notebook. Outside the classroom, Su-hyeon watches her through the window. As he observes her behavior, he quietly wonders whether some unknown variable might be influencing her mental state. Suddenly, Seol notices him. She immediately shouts that if he insists on spying on her, he should at least make the effort to hide properly. After scolding him, she scoffs and turns away in annoyance. Nearby, Hyun-ah watches Seol leave with a thoughtful expression. Outside the classroom, Su-hyeon calmly records Seol's current aggression levels into his device. At that moment, Park Min-duk suddenly appears behind him and startles him. Min-duk asks where Su-hyeon disappeared to and wonders aloud why he always seems to hide in such strange locations. He then excitedly holds up his phone and asks whether Su-hyeon recognizes what is displayed on the screen. Without waiting for an answer, Min-duk launches into an energetic explanation about North Korean weapon systems. He enthusiastically claims that most of their equipment consists of crude upgrades to extremely outdated technology. He continues by explaining that even their newer tanks rely on obsolete specifications and poorly assembled components designed more for intimidation than actual combat effectiveness. Su-hyeon listens stiffly, feeling as though he has somehow wandered into a political lecture. Eventually Min-duk stops and apologizes, admitting that he became carried away talking to himself. Curious, Min-duk peeks through the classroom window and asks what exactly Su-hyeon has been watching so carefully. The moment he sees Kim Seol inside, his eyes widen with recognition. He immediately declares that she is the most beautiful girl in the entire school. He then asks whether Su-hyeon has feelings for her and reminds him that she is an actual person rather than some abstract mission objective. At the same time, he warns that she may not be the safest choice because of her notoriously violent temper. Su-hyeon calmly responds in his usual steady tone that he likes her regardless of the potential risks. Min-duk stares at him in stunned silence. The sincerity of the statement affects him more than expected. He suddenly becomes emotional and apologizes for having been narrow-minded. He promises that he will support Su-hyeon from now on. Adjusting his glasses, he asks what kind of gift Su-hyeon plans to give her. He explains that girls often appreciate accessories and suggests that since Seol prefers a simple style, choosing the right gift might help bring them closer together. Su-hyeon begins to consider what kind of item might be appropriate. Without hesitation, Min-duk enthusiastically suggests that a cute chest holster for a pistol would be the perfect present. As he makes the suggestion, part of the tactical gear he is wearing becomes visible beneath his shirt. Su-hyeon looks at him with a completely blank expression. Without saying much, Su-hyeon calmly pulls out a sleek black chest holster and explains that he already owns one. Min-duk's eyes light up immediately. He eagerly asks if he can try it on. Inside the classroom, Seol watches the strange scene unfolding outside the window with growing concern. She shouts for the two of them to keep their voices down. Min-duk struggles to squeeze himself into the holster and groans that his recent strength training has made it a tight fit. Despite the difficulty, he proudly insists that it still looks impressive. Both Su-hyeon and Seol watch silently as he wrestles with the straps. Suddenly, One of Min Duk's shirt buttons snaps loose with a sharp popping sound and flies straight toward the classroom window. The button strikes Seol. She stares in stunned disbelief. Breathing heavily after the struggle, Min Duk thanks Su-hyeon and comments that genuine tactical equipment is clearly built differently. At that moment, Su-hyeon turns toward the classroom window and calmly tells Seol that she should accept the gift he is offering. Seol trembles with pure fury. Her eyes seem to burn red with anger as she snatches the holster and hurls it back toward him. She shouts that he should keep his garbage and angrily calls him a pervert. Later, as the sun begins to set, Su-hyeon walks home alone. His face is bruised from the day's events, and his mind continues replaying everything that happened. While walking, he reflects on something he once heard about friendships. According to that idea, friends who argue with each other often share a close bond. After thinking about it, he concludes that this must mean his efforts are working. Strangely satisfied with this interpretation, he continues down the street. His thoughts are interrupted when a red-haired boy approaches him and politely asks whether he has a moment. The boy explains that a friend nearby wishes to speak with him. Not far away, the blonde soccer player waits with several companions. When Su-hyeon approaches, the blonde boy greets him with obvious sarcasm and remarks that it is quite nice to see him again. Su-hyeon calmly asks what the group wants from him. The blonde boy mocks him for pretending not to understand the situation and asks whether he has already forgotten what happened earlier that day. Su-hyeon simply explains that he only intervened because the blonde boy had threatened Kim Seol first. One of the other boys points out that Su-hyeon is speaking disrespectfully to an upperclassman. The group slowly surrounds him. They declare that he clearly needs to be taught a lesson. Together, they escort him away from the area. From a distance, Hyuna watches the situation unfold with growing concern. Seol stands alone. Her thoughts drift back to the rooftop, replaying the moment when Su-hyeon deflected the flying soda can with impossible precision. Her expression slowly turns quiet and thoughtful. Hyuna calls out to her from across the field and suggests that they should head home together. Seol comments on the cool evening air and agrees that they should go inside quickly. Later that night, Soo-hun returns to the apartment he shares with Sung Chae-rin. Chae-rin lounges comfortably while he delivers his daily report. He calmly states that nothing unusual happened during his mission at school. Chae-rin responds that their enemies are unlikely to make any major moves for the moment. Suddenly, a soda can drops toward her. Soo-hyun catches it instantly without hesitation. Chae-rin praises his quick reflexes. He looks at her seriously and asks whether she would like him to clean the apartment. She lazily declines the offer. Soo-hyun ignores the refusal. With determined focus, he pulls on cleaning gloves and begins scrubbing every surface in the apartment with intense dedication. He cleans with such energy that the entire place soon gleams. Chae-rin watches the scene in stunned silence. Eventually she asks whether he has been finding school life difficult lately. Soo-hyun replies that balancing school responsibilities and friendships has been surprisingly interesting. He admits that these unfamiliar emotions are beginning to fascinate him. Chae-rin smiles softly, understanding more than she chooses to say. That same night, the red-haired boy discusses the earlier fight with the rest of the group. He questions how someone like Soo-hyun can possibly exist. The other boys complain that they were unable to land even a single punch. They grumble that Soo-hyun effortlessly dodged every attack. One of them describes his movements as disturbingly smooth, almost as if his body had no bones at all. After discussing it, the group concludes that it would probably be safer to avoid provoking him again. The blonde boy suddenly interrupts the conversation with anger. He loudly demands an explanation and begins shouting about Kim Seol while the others complain. The red-haired boy watches the scene with a sly smile. After a moment, he casually asks the group what they actually know about Kim Seol's background. His expression grows darker, filled with unsettling curiosity, as he quietly remarks that he is very interested in learning more about her. The next day inside the school, Seol and Hyuna stand near the classroom windows talking quietly. Hyuna shares rumors she has heard about a violent fight that broke out between students from nearby schools. Not far away, Min Duk continues rambling enthusiastically about various military weapons and equipment. While listening, Seol notices Soo-hyun standing silently in the hallway. Hyuna notices that Seol seems distracted and asks whether something is bothering her. Seol glances toward the hallway with visible irritation. Suddenly, a scream echoes through the corridor. Seol storms out of the classroom. She immediately begins shouting at Soo-hyun again, calling him a pervert and accusing him of frightening people simply by standing there silently. In her frustration, she grabs him by the collar. Students nearby stare in stunned silence at the sudden chaos. A student hall monitor quickly rushes over and demands order, shouting for everyone to calm down and keep the hallway quiet as the commotion spreads. The student monitor charges into the hallway and bellows that everyone needs to stop making a spectacle right now. The command slices through the noise like a blade. Kim Seol loosens her grip on Jeong Su-hyeon's uniform at once, releasing him just as an oddly upbeat ringtone rings out down the corridor, its cheerful tune clashing horribly with the tension in the air. Seol states that she will stop, making it obvious that she is only complying because the monitor demanded it. Around them, the students fall back into murmurs. A few whisper with snide amusement, commenting that even though Seol is popular, she is still undeniably weird. Others mutter that the student council member might be strange too, but that he can be useful sometimes. Seol and Soo-hyun remain standing directly in front of each other. Soo-hyun asks whether there is a problem between them. Seol answers him with a furious stare and tells him to shut up. Without missing a beat, he says that he will stay quiet. She spins on her heel and walks off without giving him another word. Elsewhere, members of the disciplinary committee congratulate themselves, treating the hallway intervention like a job well done. Soo-hyun watches their celebration with a face that reveals nothing. Fatty notices Soo-hyun's distant look and asks what he is thinking about so intensely. Soo-hyun asks about the person who scolded Seol earlier, and Fatty explains that the guy who yelled has real influence inside the school and appears to single Seol out on purpose. He admits that he does not know the full background. Since he and Seol are not personally close, Soo-hyun keeps his eyes forward, quietly turning the information over in his head as if filing it into a report. Just then, a brown-haired girl approaches them. She wears oversized glasses with thick, swirled lenses that magnify her eyes, and she looks nervous enough to move like her joints are stiff. Fatty reacts with sudden theatrical excitement, as if he has spotted something scandalous. The girl hesitates, then carefully asks whether she can speak to Soo-hyun alone. Fatty's confidence collapses immediately. He clutches his chest in exaggerated heartbreak and flees in dramatic despair, acting as if he has been personally betrayed by the universe. Soo-hyun watches him run and silently wonders why anyone would behave so dramatically in public. Not far away, Lee Hana walks beside Seol and tries to make sense of the day. She suggests that there must be a reason behind everything that happened. She wonders aloud whether the strange chain of events might somehow be connected to Soo-hyun. She asks why Seol seems so calm about it all and says that they should dig into the cause and figure it out. Seol responds that even if they uncover the reason, nothing will actually change. She decides that she wants to walk alone and declines Hyun-a's offer to come with her. She insists that she needs time to think without anyone beside her. Then she heads down the long hallway by herself. Hyun-a stays where she is, watching her friend shrink into the distance. Meanwhile, Fatty continues rushing down the corridor, still wrapped up in his own exaggerated misery. He barrels forward and slams straight into Seol. She cries out as pain jolts through her body, and the soda in her hand nearly slips free. Fatty immediately apologizes over and over, frantic about his own clumsiness, while Seol winces from the impact. Then Fatty looks up and freezes as he realizes who he hit. Seol recognizes him too. She says that the timing could not be better, because she has something important she wants to ask him. In another part of the school, the brown-haired girl with the swirled glasses speaks to Soo-hyun with her cheeks burning red. She says that if she had known certain things earlier, she would have approached him much sooner. Soo-hyun listens without reacting while she gathers enough courage to keep going. With surprising seriousness, she confesses that she is attracted to him. She explains that what draws her in is his cold, controlled personality. She adds that he seems to focus only on Seol while ignoring everyone else, and she reveals that she has been watching him ever since he transferred. From her perspective, everything he does appears to orbit around Seol's safety and comfort. She asks what kind of response Seol gives him in return. Just around a nearby corner, Seol pauses and overhears every word. The girl continues, saying that she would never treat him as harshly as Seol does. Blushing again, she asks him to consider becoming close with her instead. Soo-hyun answers in a flat, straightforward way. He states that he does not help Seol because he expects any gratitude. He explains that he acts the way he does simply because he truly likes Seol. The girl points out that Seol often looks bothered by how constantly he involves himself. Soo-hyun dismisses his awkward behavior as part of the process, describing it as trial and error that he has to go through. Behind the corner, Seol feels her face heat up until it burns, her emotions tangling as she processes what he said. In the end, the girl exhales like she has accepted defeat. She says that she will step back and quietly support him from a distance. As evening settles over the city, Soo-hyun walks the streets with exhaustion written into his posture. He feels drained in both body and mind. Behind him, he spots a familiar figure and wonders whether it might be Lee Hyun-a. He asks what she is doing there, since that path should not be her usual route home. Then his instincts flare. He senses danger immediately, close and behind him. A pair of gloved hands appears, pulling a thin red wire tight with deadly intent. The brown-haired girl's earlier gentle expression twists into something malicious, and her eyes glow an unnatural red. She prepares to strike while saying that she wanted to talk to him. Soo-hyun turns calmly. He states that it is almost dinner time, so no, making it clear that he will not entertain a drawn-out exchange. She laughs sharply and asks whether he truly cannot spare even a single minute. The air floods with murderous intent. The red wire snaps forward like a whip. Soo-hyun appears to be struck. The girl narrows her eyes, studying his reflexes closely, as if trying to measure him. Then she sees him standing in a warp. unsettling posture that makes his movements look wrong in a way she cannot immediately explain. She demands an explanation for how he is moving like that. Soo-hyeon simply adjusts his school tie beneath the fading light of sunset and warns her that she will have to answer for her aggression. Irritated by his casual tone, she declares that he should try dodging the next one. Multiple wires cut through the air, slicing with lethal precision. Soo-han evades again. This time, he addresses Lee Hyun directly, demanding clarification as if he is confirming a name rather than fighting for his life. Even as the wires keep coming, he repeats that he still intends to go home for dinner. Hyun-ah's anger spikes. She screams for him to stop talking and unleashes a relentless barrage. The wires whip around him in rapid succession, filling the space with sharp, snapping motion. Some of them graze him. Those near misses prove just how deadly her speed truly is. A gunshot suddenly cracks through the street. One of the wires snaps midair. Sung Chae-rin steps into view with a pistol in her hand, smoke curling from the barrel. With bright, unsettling cheer, she refers to them as friends, as if she has walked into a casual reunion. Hyuna snaps back that she has no intention of being friends with either of them. Chae-rin casually unzips her jacket and announces a temporary timeout so they can talk. Beneath the jacket, she reveals relaxed clothing that contrasts sharply with the gun in her hand. She urges Hyun-ah to cooperate, as if cooperation is simply the reasonable thing to do. Chae-rin produces a dossier and identifies Kim Seol as a potential future leader of North Korea. She explains that higher authorities on both sides have already reached an agreement to ensure Seol's safety. She presents a mission board that lays out the threats surrounding Seol, making the danger feel organized and inevitable. Hyun-ah asks whether her grandfather truly ordered her to cooperate in this operation. Chae-rin shows a document that confirms it. The paperwork states that Hyun-ah has been assigned the secret role of Seol's official bodyguard. Chae-rin insists that trust is necessary, but Hyun-ah questions her grandfather's judgment. Chae-rin responds firmly that protecting Kim Seol is their shared objective and emphasizes that obedience is essential if they want to stay alive. With lively enthusiasm, Chae-rin explains the broader strategy behind combining their forces, treating it like an elegant solution rather than a desperate one. Hyuna stands in silence, absorbing every detail. Chae-rin then shifts topics and asks about the elderly guardian Hyun-ah lives with. She reflects on the long tradition of elders dedicating their lives to protecting important figures, even without sharing blood ties, and she says that she finds that kind of devotion remarkable. Hyuna challenges the very idea of blood ties mattering at all. Chae-rin lightly reminds Soo-hyeon to show proper respect to his superior, as if scolding him for a minor habit. Then, with a teasing smile, she asks Hyun-ah whether her questions have caused any discomfort. Chae-rin concludes that working together is the most practical way to survive. She reassures Hyun-ah that ensuring Seol's safety will only increase the respect Hyun-ah receives in return. After hesitating, Hyun-ah reluctantly agrees to the partnership. Inside her own head, Chae-rin celebrates. She is pleased that she has successfully maneuvered the two teenagers into cooperating. She orders them to maintain the appearance of being friendly classmates at school. Soo-hyeon agrees immediately without resistance, while Hyun-ah shoots him a sharp glare, full of warning. Hyun-ah offers a curt thank you before turning away. She storms off and slams the apartment door behind her, the sound echoing with frustration. Soo-hyeon remarks that Hyun-ah seems untrustworthy. Chae-rin challenges his blunt conclusion and defends Hyun-ah, saying that she is a good person who simply lacks experience. Outside, Hyun-ah stands alone, trembling as she fights to keep her frustration contained. Elsewhere, Kim Seol walks home beneath the night sky. Her thoughts churn and refuse to settle as the day's events replay again and again, each moment looping until it feels impossible to breathe. Kim Seol's phone screen brightens as she checks her messages. She walks alone through the city at night, storefront lights washing the pavement in shifting colors while she scrolls with restless fingers. The longer she reads, the tighter her chest feels. Panic creeps in as she realizes that Lee Hyun-ah has not replied to a single message since they left school. Seol's breathing speeds up. She flips through her contacts, searching frantically for anyone who might know where Hyun-ah is or who could help. When no clear answer appears, she mutters that she will try anything at this point and opens an AI chatbot, hoping it can give her emergency advice. The chatbot answers with exaggerated sympathy and even adds a playful wink. It claims that it has the perfect solution. Seol's eyes narrow as the chatbot smoothly pivots into advertising a premium subscription plan. The suggestion hits like an insult. Seol explodes, ranting at her phone and accusing it of trying to profit off her panic, while she is genuinely scared for her friend. Behind her, unnoticed, someone follows at a distance. A red-haired boy watches her with a crooked, sinister smile, clearly pleased that he has finally caught up to her. On Seol's screen, the chatbot suddenly apologizes, using slang and phrasing that it obviously picked up from Seol's earlier angry messages. Seol freezes, stunned by the suddenly casual and unprofessional tone. The chatbot explains that it adapts its language to match the user's input. Before Seol can type anything back, a student on a scooter rushes toward her and shouts a loud warning. In the same instant, the red-haired boy lunges forward, grabs Seol, and pulls her sharply aside. The scooter slices past them with barely any space to spare. The rider calls out an apology while speeding away down the street. Seol finds herself stuck in the boy's arms. He asks if she is alright, and she flusteredly agrees that she is fine, her words coming out too fast. The moment she regains her balance, she demands that he let go of her immediately. He releases her at once, as if his grip had never been serious. Then, without any shift in expression, he calmly snatches a baseball out of the air as it flies toward them. He catches it so easily it looks effortless. A player comes running up in a rush, asking if they are alright. The red-haired boy answers with the same calm tone, while Seol stands there with her eyes wide, struggling to process what just happened. Seol turns, and her stomach drops when she sees headlights blazing behind the boy. She warns him that a truck is coming. A deafening horn blasts through the street. A massive vehicle barrels toward them. Far too close, far too fast. The red-haired boy grabs Seol again and yanks her out of the way just seconds before the truck roars past, shaking the air as it goes. Afterward, he says that trouble never seems to leave her alone. He asks if she is the type of person who attracts danger everywhere she goes. Breathing hard, Seol stares at him. Something about him feels deeply wrong. Even after being rescued twice, she decides that he is still an idiot. While she focuses on that thought, he subtly draws a knife from behind his back, keeping it out of her direct view. A familiar voice calls Seol's name from down the street. Lee Tae-sik approaches, and Seol recognizes him immediately as Hyena's grandfather. True to his eccentric nature, his mind briefly wanders into an imagined scene of energetic young women working out at a gym, and he praises their vitality with far too much enthusiasm. Hyuna stands nearby, looking utterly disgusted by his commentary. Lee Tae-sik's attention snaps back to Seol. He firmly tells her to go home for her own safety. Seol bows politely. Before leaving, she thanks the red-haired boy for helping her and then runs off. Lee Tae-sik watches her go, his expression sharpening as if the playful mask has dropped. He turns his hard gaze on the red-haired boy and asks why he chose to protect her, when he could have achieved his goals by doing nothing at all. The boy replies evenly that he has personal reasons. He addresses the older man respectfully, calling him elder, and adds that he is simply doing what must be done. A closer look reveals that Lee Tae-sik's eye glows with fierce intensity. Without warning, the two of them explode into motion. The red-haired boy draws his knife, and they clash in a blur so fast it is difficult to follow. Lee Tae-sik moves with shocking speed and agility, far beyond anything his age should allow. For a split second, the red-haired boy loses track of him entirely and looks genuinely startled. Then, as abruptly as it began, the old man's attention is pulled away by something else, his eyes drifting toward a jogging woman as if his instincts have been hijacked. The red-haired boy, spared at the last moment by the distraction, allows himself a faint, knowing smile. Inside his head, disbelief flashes through him at the overwhelming power the old man displayed. The scene shifts to a large house glowing against the night sky. Inside, tense voices confirm that an assassin came dangerously close to Kim Seol. Papers cover a desk, and among them is a photograph of Jeong Su-hyeon. Hyuna listens with shock as she is told that cooperation with others is no longer optional. A profile identifies Lee Tae-sik as a former elite infiltration operative. He advises Hyun that she needs to accept help from strong allies. Hyuna refuses sharply. She declares that she will not depend on what she calls a puppet state. Lee Tae-sik comments that her thinking is too rigid. Hyuna demands that he look directly at her when he speaks. She boldly states that she will prove she can protect Seol on her own. After making the declaration, she leaves the room. Left alone, Lee Tae-sik studies a family photo. He wonders where she inherited such stubbornness. The next day at school, someone apologizes to Seol for upsetting her earlier. Then Hyuna suddenly throws her arms around Seol in a tight hug and promises that she will do better from now on. From behind a wall, Park Min-duk watches the scene and mutters that what happened between them must have been an accident. He wonders if this is the legendary female friendship he has only ever heard about. The sight overwhelms him, and he tears up while watching them. A senior student calls out, demanding that Seol talk to him again. Before Seol can respond, Hyuna steps forward. She threatens the senior in a calm, chilling tone, saying that she will kill him if he ever bothers Seol again. She orders him to nod if he understands. The boy nods frantically, terrified, and runs away as fast as he can. Hyuna returns to Seol and cheerfully reports that he will not be coming back. The student council president rushes over, asking what the disturbance is about and reminding Seol about previous warnings. In response, Hyuna grabs Fatty and yells that he should stop bothering Seol. Nearby students gasp at the sudden aggression. Hyuna's eyes glow red as she intimidates them, forcing apologies out of sheer fear. From a distance, Su-hyeon and Min-duk watch. They quietly note that Hyuna is carrying out her protective role with alarming dedication. Seol asks Hyuna why she is suddenly acting so strangely. Hyuna replies that she is only trying to help, even as she continues clinging to Seol. Seol bluntly tells her that she is acting exactly like Jeong Su-hyeon. Hyuna looks devastated by the comparison. From his desk, Su-hyeon silently raises a thumbs up, acknowledging Hyuna's effectiveness. Both Seol and Hyuna stare at him, confused by his reaction. Hyun-A feels even more horrified at being compared to someone like him. Outside the gates of Tongil High School, the red-haired boy stands watching the campus. He smiles as if he is anticipating the chaos that is about to unfold. Tae-min arrives at the school entrance wearing a sinister smile. A flashback reveals that he is an elite operative from the State Security Department, trained with brutal rigor for the advancement of the motherland. He sees himself as a proud warrior who survived relentless conditioning. In class, the teacher introduces Tae-min as a new transfer student. Tae-min waves politely to everyone. Secretly, he declares that his real mission is to assassinate Kim Seol. Seol recognizes his face and wonders whether he is the same boy who helped her the night before. Tae-min silently vows that she will die by his hand for the revolution. He walks straight toward her desk, forcing her to look up in surprise. With a mocking expression, he asks whether she has already fallen for him. Inside his head, he remarks that a mission without challenge would be boring. He smiles as he settles into his role, while Seol can only think that his face is seriously annoying. Later during PE, a soccer ball slams directly into Tae-min's face. The blonde soccer player calls out and asks whether the transfer student even knows how to play. On the field, another student fires off a powerful kick. Min-duk tries to block it and fails. The score flips to 1-0. The blonde player glances around, checking whether Seol is watching. He boasts that he just showed his true skill and complains that Seol missed his highlight moment. Seol adjusts her gym shirt and shows no interest in the game. Hyuna tries to encourage her, saying that the gym uniform suits her well. Seol asks if it really does. Hyuna comments that she hates gym uniforms stamped with the South Korean military's name. Then, in a quieter tone, she identifies Tae-min as a North Korean operative and declares that she will protect Seol no matter what happens. Seol barely listens, complaining about the heat as if that is the only problem worth caring about. From a distance, Tae-min watches them. The thought unsettles him, that even ordinary schoolgirls might be trained like puppet soldiers. He studies other girls nearby who chat casually and share makeup, laughing like nothing in the world could touch them, and he struggles to reconcile their normal behavior with the suspicion tightening in his mind. During gym class, Tae-min studies the other students with narrowed eyes. While the rest of the class laughs and plays around the soccer field, his mind drifts into darker territory. In his imagination, the carefree teenagers transform into covert agents serving the American state. Beneath their ordinary gym uniforms, he envisions concealed weapons and hidden equipment. The simple soccer field morphs into a combat zone inside his thoughts. Kim Seol eventually notices the way he keeps staring at her. With irritation in her voice, she demands to know why he keeps looking at her so intensely. Tae-min jolts back to reality and realizes that his thoughts have wandered too far. At that moment, he begins to suspect that this mission might be far more complicated than he originally believed. Before he can fully refocus, someone shouts a warning across the field. A soccer ball slams directly into his head. The impact sends him crashing face first onto the grass. As he lies there, stunned and blinking at the sky, Tae-min finds himself wondering whether everyone at this school might secretly be a threat. Suddenly, Jeong Su-hyeon steps into his view. Standing over him calmly, Soo-hyun remarks that if Tae-min is not very athletic, he should avoid overexerting himself during sports. He extends a hand and helps him back to his feet. The gesture catches Tae-min off guard. For a moment, he finds himself thinking that perhaps there are decent people in the South after all. On the sidelines, several girls whisper among themselves. Some comment that the new transfer student is quite handsome, but clearly terrible at soccer. Others shift their attention to Soo-hyun, remarking on his appearance and joking about how completely devoted he seems to Kim Seol. Soo-hyun encourages Tae-min to keep participating as the game grows more competitive. Meanwhile, Yang Si-hwa, a second-year student well known for her fascination with attractive boys, watches the match with shining eyes. She turns to her friend Maria and asks which of the two boys she prefers. Maria studies Soo-hyun carefully before saying that she would choose him. Their quiet debate is abruptly interrupted when the PE teacher storms onto the field and shouts for everyone to settle down. The students immediately refer to him as King Troll, the intimidating physical education instructor who also serves as the homeroom teacher of Class 3. With a commanding voice, he declares that whichever team loses the game will be locked inside the gym afterward and forced to clean it as punishment. At the mention of punishment, Tae-min's mind flashes back to brutal training sessions from his past. Without hesitation, he announces that he will give the match his absolute best effort. Other students complain loudly that the teacher is being far too harsh. Tae-min clenches his teeth and prepares himself mentally, muttering inside his head that the South Koreans are relentless, almost demonic in their persistence. With fierce determination, the red-haired transfer student charges across the field. Gathering all his strength, he delivers a powerful kick. The soccer ball rockets forward and slams into the goal, tying the score. His teammates immediately erupt into cheers, clapping him on the back in celebration. Tae-min freezes in surprise at their enthusiasm. For a brief moment, he feels a strange and unfamiliar sense of accomplishment and camaraderie. From the bleachers, Si-hwa watches him with a small, knowing smile. Suddenly, the teacher announces a new rule. He declares that whoever scores the winning goal will earn a date with Kim Seol as a reward, claiming that the idea will motivate the class. Seol is horrified by the announcement. She immediately protests, declaring that she refuses to be treated like some kind of prize. Hyena suddenly insists that she will join the game as well, while Seol becomes increasingly uncomfortable with how strange her friend has been acting lately. At the same time, Soo-han receives a discreet signal through his communication device. His instincts tell him that the situation is escalating. Through the device, Sung Chae-rin orders him to score a goal immediately. Without hesitation, Soo-hyun prepares to follow the command. Meanwhile, Tae-min hears about the so-called reward and immediately recognizes an opportunity. A date with Seol would provide the perfect moment to eliminate his target. Both boys suddenly sprint toward the ball with sharp focus. A blonde player shouts that soccer is not about enthusiasm alone, it is about skill. A powerful kick launches the ball toward the goal with incredible force. Park Min-duk locks onto the incoming ball and declares that fighting spirit matters above all else. With dramatic flair, he dives through the air and makes an incredible save, catching the ball mid-flight. After landing, he shouts triumphantly and asks whether everyone thought he was merely a background character. Then, with theatrical intensity, he punts the ball high into the sky. The ball arcs upward before descending again. Soo-hyun and Tae-min leap at the same moment, both locking onto the ball. From the sidelines, Seol watches in disbelief as the two of them strike nearly simultaneously. The teacher cheers wildly, while several students shout Soo-hyun's name as the collision sends the ball flying across the field. In the end, the ball rolls out of bounds. The game ends in a tie. The teacher laments how incredibly close the match had been. Seol and Hyun-ah stare at the field, stunned by the sheer intensity of what just happened. Tae-min acknowledges Soo-hyun's skill, and the two exchange a firm handshake filled with mutual respect. Internally, Tae-min admits that the dark-haired boy seems surprisingly honorable. Afterward, the entire class gathers on the field for a celebratory group photo. Se-hwa watches the moment with a mysterious smile. Tae-min quietly broods over the opportunity he missed, while Min-duk loudly brags about his spectacular save. Soo-hyun stands among them with his usual calm expression, unaffected by the noise. Later in the hallway, a girl approaches Seol and begs her to do a favor. Kang Eun-ji and An Da-kyung plead with a classmate to wear a specific outfit for an event they are planning. Seol immediately refuses with irritation, declaring that she will not wear something so ridiculous even once. The girls continue imagining different outfits on her while she keeps protesting. Frustrated, Seol tells them to ask Hyun-ah instead. The girls complain that Hyun-ah's size is different, and that Seol's size is perfect for what they have in mind. Annoyed beyond patience, Seol tells them to go away. The girls scatter quickly. As they leave, two of them whisper that perhaps they should ask Yang Si-hwa for help later. At his desk, Tae-min sits quietly, lost in thought. A mental description of him forms like a report on Tae-min, a cold and disciplined operative from North Korea. Around him, several girls whisper about his handsome appearance and mention that they want to talk to him. Tae-min grows suspicious, wondering whether they might be plotting something. Suddenly, a student appears right beside his desk, startling him. More girls gather around and compliment his looks before asking him for a favor. They ask whether he would be willing to wear something for them. Assuming that their request is harmless, Tae-min cautiously agrees. The girls exchange mischievous looks as they ask what he plans to wear. Moments later, Tae-min finds himself dressed in a frilly maid outfit. The entire classroom explodes with shock. Tae-min frantically tells the girls to stop staring and step back. Inside his head, he convinces himself that this humiliation must be a psychological tactic designed to break his mental discipline. He vows silently that he will not crack under pressure. Then he notices a familiar face nearby. Jeong Su-hyeon stands there, calm as ever. Tae-min feels a spark of hope, briefly believing that Soo-hyun has come to rescue him from the situation. Instead, Soo-hyun calmly reveals that he himself was forced into a clown costume. Park Min-duk dramatically steps forward and announces to the classroom that everyone should wait. The girls immediately shout for him to be quiet. Soo-hyun advises Tae-min that the best option is simply to accept the situation. Tae-min angrily points out that at least Soo-hyun is still wearing pants. Soo-hyun calmly remarks that the maid outfit actually suits Tae-min. Tae-min reacts with visible outrage. One girl watches the entire scene and quietly thinks about how pitiful the transfer student looks. Deep inside her mind, a silent determination forms that An Tae-min's true identity will eventually be revealed. Eventually, Soo-hyun leaves the classroom believing the chaos has finally ended. However, the girls immediately begin pestering Tae-min again, begging him to try on one last outfit. They surround him while he struggles helplessly against their relentless enthusiasm. Out in the hallway, Soo-hyun is suddenly stopped by Yang Se-hwa. She steps closer with a blush and greets him warmly. Soo-hyun asks what she wants. Se-hwa teasingly points out how stiff and awkward he always seems when talking to people. She explains that she would like the two of them to grow closer. Soo-hyun immediately concludes that growing closer means becoming friends. Inside her head, Se-hwa labels him as a completely clueless boy. She invites him to visit a cafe with her after school. Su-hyeon refuses the invitation, explaining that meeting her would be difficult because he cannot separate from Seol. Si-hwa stares at him in disbelief. Suddenly, Kim Seol appears and strikes Su-hyeon for making another strange comment. She grabs him by the collar and drags him away, while scolding him for constantly saying irritating things. Su-hyeon complains that the way she is pulling him hurts. Behind them, Si-hwa brushes her hair back with clear frustration, her thoughts swirling. Inside her mind, she mutters that the situation is becoming unbearable, and briefly imagines stealing Su-hyeon away for herself. Outside the school gates, traffic moves slowly as students begin heading home. Seol asks Su-hyeon why he keeps following her like an obsessive stalker. She demands to know why he spoke to Se-hwa the way he did and questions why he insists on staying near her despite how often she mistreats him. Su-hyeon bluntly replies that Seol undeniably has a bad personality. Seol explodes with outrage at the insult. Unfazed, Su-hyeon calmly states that he will remain beside her regardless of her flaws. He explains that his loyalty will not change. Seol looks away, her face turning bright red as she struggles to hide her embarrassment. Trying to shift the conversation, she suddenly announces that she plans to watch the movie Monsters Blade. Su-hyeon acknowledges the plan without hesitation. Then, the two of them continue walking side by side through the evening streets as night slowly settles over the city. The scene shifts to a lively city street glowing under bright storefront lights and flashing traffic signals. Cars roll past in steady streams while pedestrians move between the shops. At a crosswalk, An Tae-min waits for the signal to change. His posture remains calm and composed, though he has no idea that someone is quietly following him. A pair of girls walk past and glance at him. One whispers to her friend that the red-haired boy looks so handsome that he could easily pass for a model. Not far behind him, Lee Hyun-ah trails through the crowd. Under her breath, she mutters that stalking someone like this is shameful behavior, even as she continues secretly tracking his every step through the busy street. Ahead of her, the red-haired transfer student walks with his back straight and his senses sharpened. Without turning around, Tae-min suddenly halts. In a calm voice, he states that the person following him should stop hiding and show herself. He explains that he has known for quite some time that someone has been tailing him. The braided girl freezes. She clearly did not expect him to notice. After a short pause, the girl wearing a red cardigan decides that avoiding the situation will only make things worse. She concludes that confronting him directly would be better. Tae-min turns around. The moment he sees what she is holding, he blinks in confusion. In her hand is a bright red wire, though to his eyes it looks like a vivid measuring tape. For the first time since arriving in the South, Tae-min's composure cracks. His eyes widen with panic. He blurts out that she should stop immediately, explaining frantically that he already cooperated with the girls at school earlier and believed she wanted to dress him up as well. The braided girl stands there, still holding the red wire she had earlier, completely confused by the sudden outburst. The sight of the red strip of material triggers something deep inside Tae-min's mind. Memories surge forward. In his imagination, the girl with the red wire smiles mischievously and raises it like a weapon. Tae-min reacts instantly. He bolts down the street in sheer terror. Hyun-ah gives chase without hesitation. Tae-min sprints through the city like someone escaping a mortal threat, while behind him the pursuing girl radiates a frightening determination that borders on demonic. The scene cuts to a quiet movie theater lobby. The building's interior gleams with polished floors and soft lighting. A massive poster dominates one wall, announcing that the film Monsters Blade opens on the 25th. Inside the theater itself, the movie plays across the screen. In one scene, a monstrous orc-like invader kneels and pleads for mercy. Kim Seol sits among the audience, watching the film closely while whispers ripple through the rows of seats around her. Suddenly, a piece of popcorn flies past her face. She startles and turns around. Jeong Su-hyeon is sitting directly behind her. He greets her calmly and remarks that he is also watching the movie. In the same breath, he comments that it must be quite a coincidence that they both ended up here. Seol stares at him in disbelief. A memory flashes through her mind. Earlier that day, she had mentioned aloud that she intended to watch this movie. She silently questions why she ever said that within earshot. A nearby viewer turns around and tells them to stay quiet during the film. Seol sinks lower into her seat, mortified by how awkward the situation has become. Later, Seol sits alone at a small table inside a cafe. A large window beside her reflects the city lights outside. She rests her chin on her hand and stares through the glass with a bored expression. Across the cafe, a couple of boys glance toward her. They quietly admire her beauty but assume she would never give them the time of day. Her moment of peace abruptly ends when she notices someone sitting behind her again. Su-hyeon. He calmly drinks from a cup, loudly slurping his beverage. The repetitive sound grates on Seol's nerves. Su-hyeon casually remarks that this is yet another coincidence. Seol silently questions why she ever believed he would not appear. Completely fed up, she pushes her chair back and stands. Without another word, she leaves the cafe, mentally labeling him unbearably annoying. At that exact moment outside, Tae-min comes sprinting down the street in full panic. With the braided girl still chasing after him, Seol steps forward and collides directly with him mid-run. The impact knocks Taemin flat onto the ground. Seol complains about the sudden pain while Hyun-ah arrives seconds later. Breathing hard from the chase, Soo-hyeon steps forward and calmly checks on the transfer student, who is lying face down on the pavement. Hyun-ah quickly explains that she only wanted to talk to the new student. Taemin forces a polite smile and nervously agrees to join them. Soon afterward, the group sits together at a nearby cafe table. As they settle in, Taemin becomes increasingly uncomfortable with how closely Soo-hyeon positions himself beside Seol. Slowly, Taemin realizes that he may have misunderstood parts of the earlier situation, though he remains visibly tense. Inside his thoughts, he laments that he cannot target the princess while so many people surround her. Across the table, Hyun-ah watches him carefully. Her expression shows that she does not fully believe his explanation for running through the streets. A quiet observation confirms that Taemin's suspicion is correct. Hyun-ah is indeed acting as a secret bodyguard. Soo-hyeon quietly eats his snack while the others talk. Hyun-ah forces a polite smile toward the sweating Taemin. Seol watches the entire scene with a bored and skeptical expression. Eventually, Seol asks whether everyone is free right now. Later, the group arrives inside a noisy arcade. Seol walks up to a strength testing machine and slams her fist into the padded target. The impact sends the meter climbing high. She turns to Hyun-ah and invites her to try the machine. Hyun-ah responds that she lacks the strength for such a game. Seol teases her, claiming that she must be too delicate and girly for something physical like this. Hyun-ah smiles quietly to herself, fully aware that she is neither weak nor delicate. Instead, she compliments Seol's strength while the two boys watch silently. Taemin decides that today he will focus only on gathering intelligence. When Seol prepares to kick the machine in public, Hyun-ah subtly stops her. Meanwhile, Taemin studies Soo-hyeon carefully, wondering just how deeply his connection to the princess runs. He hopes for a moment when Soo-hyeon will not be nearby so he can strike. Despite everything, Taemin privately acknowledges that Soo-hyeon seems like a genuinely good person. Seol urges everyone to keep playing. Her excitement grows as she bounces over to another machine, determined to reclaim his pride. Taemin steps forward and punches the strength tester with all his strength. The meter jumps high. He proudly announces his impressive score. Immediately, Hyun-ah's presence darkens. Seol complains that Taemin's constant boasting is irritating. Hyun-ah calmly steps forward. Then she unleashes a devastating strike. The impact nearly breaks the machine. Taemin stares at her in fear, deeply unsettled by her intense determination to win. Soo-hyeon calmly asks whether he should also take a turn. Instead of punching the machine, he simply walks away. Seol asks where he is going, disappointment briefly crossing her face. She blushes faintly, wondering why she even feels like cheering for him. A moment later, Soo-hyun returns. He is carrying a massive hammer. Seol shouts in horror. She smacks him immediately, scolding him for taking her earlier comment so literally. She orders him to return the hammer at once while he complains that her hit hurt. Under her furious glare, he reluctantly puts the hammer back. Nearby, a fighting game flashes across another arcade screen. A character collapses in defeat. Seol cheers victoriously while Hyun-ah praises her gaming ability. A quick memory flashes of Seol humiliating another boy in the past after defeating him easily. Now the girls stand beside a martial arts arcade machine. Seol faces a new opponent. The player beside her, a muscular man, struggles with the game controls and grows increasingly frustrated. When he finally looks up and realizes that his opponent is a very pretty girl, he freezes in surprise. Seol provocatively challenges him, while Hyun-ah quietly tries to calm her down. Seol laughs and remarks that it is only a game. From the side, Taemin observes everything closely, analyzing every detail about the princess. Seol gleefully explains that the most enjoyable part of fighting games is chaining together perfect combos to defeat opponents. Taemin narrows his eyes. Inside his mind, he concludes that Kim Seol is cunning and has a terrible personality. In his imagination, she transforms into a terrifying future ruler, one who coldly orders the execution of anyone foolish enough to oppose her. As the group steps away from the arcade machines, Taemin studies Kim Seol with narrowed eyes. In his mind, he reflects that someone with her sharp tongue and fearless attitude would be terrifying if she ever rose to the position of supreme leader. Seol suddenly turns toward him and proposes a one-on-one match on the fighting game. She explains that the loser must buy dinner for everyone that night. Taemin immediately refuses, stating that he sees no reason to waste money on such a reckless wager. Seol and Hyun-ah exchange amused looks before teasing him, suggesting that perhaps he is afraid of losing because he appears rather delicate. The repeated taunts finally push Taemin past his patience. He snaps and declares that he accepts the challenge. Inside his head, he reminds himself that he was trained in elite combat techniques by the State Security Department and that defeating a simple arcade game should be effortless. Moments later, Seol completely destroys him. Round after round, she overwhelms him with ease. She laughs triumphantly as she lands the final attack. When the victory screen appears, she throws her hands up in celebration and announces that he now owes everyone dinner, snacks, and drinks as well. Taemin stares at the screen in disbelief, quietly mourning the damage that will soon be inflicted on his wallet. Seol bursts into loud, uncontrollable laughter. Taemin releases a dramatic cry of despair over his humiliating defeat. Hyuna laughs so hard that she has to clutch her stomach. Through the noise, Soo-hyun quietly observes the moment and reflects that he is witnessing a side of Seol he had never expected to see. Soon afterward, the group gathers around a table loaded with Korean street food. Plates of neatly sliced gimbap sit beside steaming bowls of tteokbokki coated in red sauce, while piles of fried snacks fill the rest of the table. Taemin sits stiffly with an empty stare, nearly on the verge of tears after losing 5 consecutive matches. Across from him, the girls cheerfully thank him for the generous meal. Jeong Su-hyeon leans slightly toward the defeated boy, which causes Taemin to briefly wonder whether this quiet classmate might secretly be some kind of angel. Soo-hyun calmly tells Seol to stop being greedy, explaining that the total cost of the meal is excessive for a student budget. Hearing this, Taemin feels a wave of gratitude wash over him. Across the table, Hyuna fixes Taemin with a dark, judgmental stare and silently labels him pathetic. At the same time, she criticizes Soo-hyun internally, believing he is incompetent for failing to realize that the transfer student is actually their enemy. Soo-hyun ignores the tension entirely and continues eating fried shrimp in silence. Suddenly, Seol shouts at him for stealing her portion of fried food. Hyuna's aura visibly darkens as she watches the exchange. Later, the group wanders toward a row of photo booths. Seol remarks that it has been a long time since they last took pictures together. Taemin stares at the automated machines with fascination, though he quietly worries that the cramped space would make them easy targets for an ambush. Seol glances at the two boys with a mischievous grin as everyone squeezes into the booth. She instructs them to loosen their stiff expressions. Hyuna complains that the boys look like wooden statues. Seol suggests a quick game of rock, paper, scissors and declares that the loser must perform cute agio poses for the camera. The game begins. Almost immediately, Seol accuses Taemin of flashing a suspicious hand sign in an attempt to cheat. The booth erupts into playful chaos as the group jokingly swarms him like a flock of noisy crows. Amid the commotion, Soo-hyun offers a dry and exaggerated apology. One photo captures the moment when the girls tease Taemin while he pleads for another chance. Seol eventually agrees to a final round. She carefully arranges their positions for the next picture and instructs Soo-hyun to place his fingers lightly against hers. Hyuna observes that the pose arrangement is surprisingly creative. The camera flashes. Seol beams with satisfaction at the result. Next, she puts on a pair of pink bunny ears. Hyuna tells her she looks adorable. Soo-hyun pulls on an oversized afro wig along with a fake mustache. Seol bursts out laughing and remarks that he looks completely ridiculous. Taemin slides on a pair of tiny sunglasses and comments that he actually likes the style, though Hyuna studies him with suspicion. For another shot, the four of them strike a dramatic special forces formation pose inside the booth. Seol also captures the moment on her phone. In the following frame, she pretends to choke Taemin and tells him to look more miserable for the picture. Finally, they take one last vertical family-style photo, all smiling brightly while flashing peace signs. Later that night, they stroll through quiet city streets beneath the stars. Taemin studies the printed photo strip and sighs that the entire experience has been exhausting. Despite his fatigue, he admits to himself that the day felt strangely fulfilling. He reflects that life in South Korea seems unexpectedly enjoyable. At that moment, a masked man emerges from the shadows and quietly approaches him. The stranger whispers a stern reminder that Taemin must not forget their true objective. Meanwhile, Seol remarks that the weather feels pleasant and suggests visiting the park. She asks Taemin if he will join them, but he abruptly declines, explaining that he needs to go home. Seol looks surprised by his sudden change in attitude. Nearby, Hyuna quietly decides that she must locate Taemin's hideout that very night. She tells Seol that she also has to leave and apologizes before promising to contact her later. She runs off, silently trusting Soo-hyun to protect the princess while she is gone. Seol watches her disappear and wonders aloud whether Hyuna might secretly have feelings for the transfer student. Soo-hyun bluntly states that such a thing will never happen. Seol demands to know how he could possibly be so certain. He dismisses the question as meaningless. Changing the subject, he asks whether she still wants to visit the park like she suggested earlier. He offers to accompany her. Seol blushes slightly, clearly surprised by the offer. Soon, they sit together quietly in the park. Soo-hyun asks whether she had fun that day. Seol blushes again as she holds a stray cat in her arms. She admits that it was her first time enjoying activities like that. She quickly adds that what she really enjoyed was simply spending time with the group. Soo-hyun quietly expresses deep relief. The cat suddenly leaps away, startling Seol. She asks why he looks so relieved. He watches the animal run off and explains that he had been worried about her. He says that he saw a new, brighter side of her that day and remembers how brightly she smiled while spending time with everyone. He tells her that he hopes to see her smile like that more often. Seol immediately becomes defensive and calls him creepy for observing her so closely. He responds sincerely that he simply hopes she stays safe and continues smiling as she did earlier. Flustered, she turns away and tells him to stop trying to act cool. Her face turns bright red as his words echo in her mind. In her hand, The printed photo strip shows a moment where both of them are smiling freely. Later that night, back at their base, Sung Chae-rin lounges with a drink in her hand. She casually mentions that Hyun-Ah stopped by earlier. Soo-hyun silently cleans the room and explains that maintaining proper operational hygiene is crucial. The woman, slightly drunk, suddenly hugs him from behind and teasingly comments on how cool he acted earlier that day. Soo-hyun stiffens with a blank expression and insists that he did not say anything special. She smiles mischievously at his reaction. She reflects on her younger days and wonders how she ended up supervising teenagers. Soon after, Soo-hyun lifts the drunken woman onto his back and firmly tells her that she needs to sleep. He carries her to her bed, while she mutters about balancing work and love. That night, Seol tosses and turns in bed. She stares at the group photo again and again, unable to stop thinking about Soo-hyun's words. His wish that she stay safe and keep smiling echoes inside her mind. She eventually pulls the blanket over her face, wondering why his voice keeps repeating in her thoughts. The next day, An Tae-min stands on the school grounds wearing a sports jersey as the festival begins. He scolds himself internally for allowing meaningless fun to distract him and vows to refocus on his mission. He reminds himself of his true goal. He must assassinate the princess, no matter the cost. Nearby, Seol cheers enthusiastically as the sports festival kicks off. Tae-min watches her with cold determination, hiding his intentions behind a neutral expression. Suddenly, a dodgeball flies across the court and slams directly into his face. He collapses to the ground just as the Tongil High School Sports Festival officially begins. Students from the opposing team mock Class 3, wondering whether they will even pose a challenge. An announcement board reveals the next event: Queen Dodgeball. Class 4's Queen, a girl named Warrior, makes a dramatic entrance wearing an elaborate costume. Seol comments that the opposing team's concept feels excessively theatrical. Soo-hyun, however, remarks that it looks impressive. Soon, only Seol and Soo-hyun remain standing on their side of the court. Their classmates cheer loudly, relying on Soo-hyun as their final line of defense. From the sidelines, Hyun-ah grumbles in frustration that she cannot personally guard Seol during the match. She decides to keep a close watch on Tae-min while he is helped back to his feet. On the court, Soo-hyun tells Seol to stand directly behind him and assures her that she will remain safe. During the match, Soo-hyun calmly states that he will protect Kim Seol no matter what happens. Seol immediately smacks his arm and tells him to stop trying to act cool and pay attention to the game. Before he can react, a dodgeball slams into his head. Seol shouts that he should focus. A player from Class 4 prepares a powerful combination throw meant to eliminate the remaining members of Class 3. Soo-hyun steps forward without hesitation and absorbs multiple hits intended for Seol. Thanks to the special rule granting male players temporary invincibility, he takes the blows without being eliminated. Seol demands to know why he is simply standing there and taking hits. Soo-hyun calmly explains that he wants to avoid injuring the other students. Seol suggests that instead of endlessly blocking attacks, he should strike the opposing queen directly and end the game without hurting anyone else. Soo-hyun considers the challenge of hitting the queen precisely while avoiding harm to anyone nearby. From the sidelines, the opposing player mocks Soo-hyun's restraint and unleashes a spinning, whirlwind-like throw. The dodgeball rockets toward him, only to be caught in midair with a sharp impact. Soo-hyun stops it effortlessly with one hand. Seol stares at him in shock. He decides that the match should end quickly. With careful precision, Soo-hyun throws the ball straight upward into the sky. It climbs higher and higher until it almost seems to hover above the court. The opposing team laughs, assuming he has surrendered. The ball reaches its peak against the bright blue sky. For a moment, the sunlight blinds the players below. Then the ball drops perfectly, landing directly on the opposing queen. Class 3 erupts into cheers, praising Soo-hyun's strange but effective strategy. Calmly, Soo-hyun informs the confused Seol that the match is already over. Before she can ask how he knew, the festival loudspeakers interrupt with an announcement of a special dance performance by Yang Si-hwa. An energetic MC wearing flashy sunglasses enthusiastically introduces the show. Yang Si-hwa steps confidently onto the stage. The crowd falls silent, captivated by her beauty and graceful movements. As she dances, lyrics about surviving alone on a deserted island appear on the large screen behind her. A fan shouts his dramatic devotion while Soo-hyun watches the performance without any visible reaction. Si-hwa notices the audience's admiration but continues dancing with polished confidence. Privately, she resolves to stand out and capture Soo-hyun's attention. She sends him a playful wink. Fatty reacts hysterically, convinced the gesture was meant for him, while Soo-hyun only looks puzzled. Nearby, Tae-min scans the colorful costumes and exaggerated outfits around him. He cannot believe how theatrical everything is. He wonders how he is supposed to complete an assassination mission in the middle of such chaos. Seol remarks that dancing in public would be far too embarrassing for her. Tae-min clenches his fists and renews his determination, reminding himself of his elite training. He vows to eliminate his competition completely. Suddenly, Soo-hyun appears behind him and tells him to prepare for his turn in the relay race. Tae-min startles, annoyed that he failed to sense Soo-hyun approaching. Seol notices how unexpectedly helpful Soo-hyun seems toward the transfer student. She also comments that he somehow looks different when viewed from behind. The relay announcer instructs the runners to choose their designated partners. The baton begins passing rapidly as the race intensifies. Su-hyeon receives the baton and sprints forward. While running, he suddenly grabs a girl's hand to fulfill the partner rule for the event. The girl turns out to be Yang Si-hwa. Seol freezes as the crowd erupts in cheers. Su-hyeon bluntly tells Si-hwa that she should trust him and start running. He pulls her forward, and they sprint together. Si-hwa blushes deeply, thrilled to be running hand in hand with him. When Tae-min takes his turn, he displays astonishing speed. Spectators gasp at the almost inhuman precision of his running. He smirks internally, thinking that a simple sprint is nothing compared to his brutal training. He reaches the mission table for the next challenge. The task requires contestants to finish an entire bowl of fire chicken noodles. Tae-min begins confidently, but the intense spice quickly overwhelms him. His mouth burns as if on fire. His teammates shout encouragement while he fights through the searing pain. He compares the experience to the endurance trials of his training and forces himself to finish. Afterward, he asks Maria to run the next leg. During her portion, Maria accidentally spills water while running, drawing laughter from nearby classmates. Hyuna gently reassures her as she struggles not to cry. Hyuna takes the baton next and runs with fierce determination. As her feet pound the track, she silently questions why she is pushing herself this hard, especially when she would normally conserve energy and keep her emotions locked down. When she reaches Su-hyeon, she passes him the baton and urges him to win, making it sound less like encouragement and more like an order. Su-hyeon runs forward, only to discover that the next mission is nothing like a normal relay task. The event staff announces that the next challenge involves choosing the friend each runner most wants to go on a date with. The moment Seol hears that, anxiety tightens in her chest. She wonders whether she will be chosen again and hates that she even cares. A hand reaches out and grabs a partner firmly. Seol stands frozen as cheers explode around Su-hyeon. He prepares for the three-legged race and asks Yang Se-hwa if she is ready. Se-hwa answers with confident bragging about her reflexes, even though she secretly despises anything physical and would rather sit still and look pretty than run. They tie their legs together and synchronize almost instantly. Their steps lock into rhythm, and they sprint in perfect coordination. Along the sidelines, female students gossip about how Su-hyeon is running with someone other than Seol. The pair crosses the finish line smoothly, still perfectly matched. The festival energy spikes even higher. Seol watches them with a wounded expression she tries to hide. Se-hwa's bright laughter grates on her, especially when Se-hwa clings to Su-hyeon as if she owns him. Seol starts suspecting that Se-hwa is doing it on purpose, like she is quietly rubbing it in. A pink-haired teacher beams and announces a pizza party as a reward. Fatty reacts like a soldier receiving supplies, loudly comparing the pizza to combat rations. Su-hyeon calmly states that he agrees, accepting the comparison without a hint of irony. Se-hwa approaches Su-hyeon afterward to praise his performance. Blushing, she says that his compliments earlier made her very happy. After brushing off another admirer, she asks Su-hyeon for a private conversation. Seol barely hears Hyun-ah mentioning pizza, because Seol is too trapped in her own thoughts. Se-hwa flirtatiously reminds Su-hyeon about the date he supposedly promised. Without hesitation, Su-hyeon says that they should leave immediately. Around them, students begin whispering excitedly, speculating that the two might be officially dating. Seol quietly excuses herself and claims she just needs a short walk. Se-hwa privately savors the hurt she saw on Seol's face. She finds Su-hyeon's awkwardness strangely charming and assumes he is playing hard to get rather than being genuinely weird. Su-hyeon, however, thinks differently. He considers that observing Se-hwa more closely might be useful. Se-hwa thanks him for buying her a drink and prepares to clarify what their date actually is. Su-hyeon calmly tells her that this is the date. Irritated, she asks whether he even understands what a date is and suggests they do something more romantic instead. Su-hyeon answers that he does understand, explaining that a date is when two people of the opposite sex spend time one-on-one. Se-hwa begins to realize that he is far stranger than she first thought. She asks why he seems interested in her rather than Kim Seol. Su-hyeon calmly explains that he has been watching her to confirm a suspicion. Se-hwa remembers how often boys confess to her and politely claims she is too busy for dating. At the same time, she relies on her usual strategy of manipulating attention, encouraging admirers to stay close even as she rejects them. She keeps a small orbit of hopeful boys around her by offering just enough warmth to keep them trapped. With a sweet smile, she tells Su-hyeon to ask whatever question he has. Su-hyeon bluntly asks what her real feelings are toward Kim Seol. Se-hwa's friendly expression falters. She asks why he would even bring up Seol. Su-hyeon observes that Se-hwa has always seemed unusually aware of Seol's presence, as if Seol's existence constantly sits in the corner of her mind. He asks her to be honest. Se-hwa's defensiveness spikes instantly. She crushes an empty soda can in her hand and demands to know why he would accuse her of being fixated. She mocks the suggestion and questions his judgment like he has said something laughable. Su-hyeon calmly points out that her response seems disproportionate to a simple question. Se-hwa bristles at the implication that she is strange, She dismisses Seol coldly, describing her as someone beneath her concern. Misrating that aggression as a potential threat, Su-hyeon instructs Si-hwa to turn around and surrender any weapons she might be carrying. Si-hwa blushes in shocked disbelief as he steps closer and pulls on gloves, his demeanor turning clinical. Before anything else can happen, a runner rushes past them and shouts from behind, breaking the moment. And then, without warning, Kim Seol appears out of nowhere and drives a flying kick straight into Su-hyeon's face. She calls him a pervert as he falls backward from the impact. Around them, students continue gossiping and laughing, some mocking a classmate for overeating pizza while others whisper about their dramatic teacher. And none of them realize how much darker the tension beneath the festival's surface has become. Kim Seol storms off while nearby students argue loudly about being called pigs during the pizza chaos. As she walks, she tells herself that Jeong Su-hyeon's social life is none of her business. In her mind, she repeats that he is simply annoying, nothing more. Her thoughts twist into a ridiculous fantasy. In her imagination, Su-hyeon shrinks into a buzzing bee hovering near her ear. She mentally swats at him and decides that her life would be peaceful if he just vanished. She imagines herself thriving while Su-hyeon and Yang Se-hwa get carried away by a swarm of bees. Annoyed at her own imagination, she pictures smashing the whole scene apart with a fly swatter. Now alone on a quiet walkway, Seol slows her pace as the festival noise fades behind her. Then movement catches her eye. On a bench nearby, Su-hyeon appears to be tending to Si-hwa. From where Seol stands, it looks suspiciously like flirting. Seol's expression hardens. She turns away sharply and reminds herself that she and Su-hyeon are officially just friends. Then she tells herself that as a friend, she should monitor his unstable behavior so he does not cause trouble. Meanwhile, Si-hwa stares in disbelief as Su-hyeon prepares to search her for concealed items. His calm, clinical demeanor only makes the moment feel even more bizarre. Seol suddenly breaks into a sprint. Without hesitation, she launches into another flying kick, slamming her foot into Su-hyeon's face. She calls him a pervert again and demands to know why he is acting inappropriately towards Si-hwa. She grabs him by the collar and shakes him violently, accusing him of targeting other girls with his strange behavior. Si-hwa watches the chaos unfold in total confusion. She clutches her chest dramatically and demands to know who Seol thinks she is to interfere. With a sharp glare, Si-hwa accuses Seol of manipulating Su-hyeon and making him behave foolishly. Seol fires back that she was saving Se-hwa from perverted treatment. Si-hwa counters by accusing Seol of twisting narratives easily and dragging other people into emotional traps. In Se-hwa's mind, Seol must be the one who pushed Su-hyeon into acting like that in the first place. Seol looks completely baffled at being accused of gaslighting, while Su-hyeon lies on the ground in silence, defeated and refusing to escalate the fight. Si-hwa then accuses Seol of being jealous that Su-han paid attention to her. Seol responds that Si-hwa is free to keep the pervert for herself. Si-hwa replies that Seol is only upset because Su-han gave someone else attention for once. Su-hyeon tries to intervene and says that everyone should calm down before it becomes worse. Both girls snap at him at the exact same time and tell him to stay out of it. They declare that he is the biggest problem in the situation and order him to be quiet. Back at the festival, students continue enjoying pizza and joking that it tastes like high-grade combat rations. Later, back home, Su-hyeon's superior checks the monitors and confirms that Se-hwa is an ordinary civilian. She mocks Su-hyeon for attempting such a clumsy body search, while he stands nearby looking visibly ashamed. Su-han quietly reflects that Se-hwa showed clear aggression towards Seol earlier. The woman gestures toward the screens and explains that Su-hyeon lacks the social perspective to understand the rivalry unfolding. She describes it as a psychological clash between traditional insecurity and modern performance, and she warns him that some social dynamics are too complicated to analyze clinically. She concludes that Se-hwa's fixation makes sense. Seol is widely known for her beauty and for her unusually bold personality. Seol's visibility has increased even more since Su-hyeon began hovering around her, especially with Seol continuing to display impressive physical skill. Su-hyeon attempts to defend himself, but a vivid memory interrupts him. The sharp image of Seol's foot smashing into his face. Meanwhile, gossip spreads quickly around campus about the confrontation. Si-hwa moves through the social chaos with practiced composure. She suggests that she may have pursued Su-hyeon partly because of how close he is to Seol. The handler teasingly comments on Su-hyeon's total lack of social awareness. Su-hyeon looks genuinely confused in response. The handler insists that he must apologize sincerely to Se-hwa. Su-hyeon tries to argue that his search was necessary for security purposes. The handler's aura turns chilling, and the shift instantly silences him. He lowers his head and promises to apologize immediately. Later, Si-hwa sits at her desk with a compact mirror in her hand. She checks her reflection carefully, adjusting her hair and posture until her usual confident expression returns. Su-hyeon suddenly appears behind her. Si-hwa screams in real shock. Su-han calmly asks for a private conversation. Si-hwa inhales slowly, forcing herself to regain composure so she can keep her public image intact. They move to a quiet courtyard. Su-han stands before her and begins a formal apology. Si-hwa waves him off, acting as though the incident was nothing. At the same time, she warns him not to misunderstand and assume that she is actually interested in him. Su-hyeon immediately asks whether that means they are no longer friends. His slightly dejected expression at being firmly friend-zoned catches her off guard. For a brief second, she finds the reaction unexpectedly cute. With a sweet voice, she reassures him that they can still be friends, while secretly deciding that keeping him within her influence could still be useful. Si-hwa then asks whether he likes Seol. Su-hyeon bluntly confirms that he does like her, and the answer irritates Si-hwa more than she expected. Su-hyeon adds that he has no intention of comparing Se-hwa to Seol, even though they are standing close together. Then, unexpectedly, Su-hyeon compliments Si-hwa. He states that her feminine appeal is on the same level as Seol's. He adds that Se-hwa's social grace and friendliness stand in sharp contrast to Seol's colder exterior. After a moment, he changes his assessment and says that Se-hwa might actually have more feminine charm than Seol. In his mind, he reasons that Si-hwa gets along better with people and has a friendlier personality. Without explaining further, Su-hyeon abruptly ends the conversation and says that he needs to return to class. Si-hwa remains frozen in the courtyard after he leaves. She wonders whether he intentionally played with her emotions. As she replays his words, her face turns red. To her horror, she realizes that a part of her might actually enjoy the strange, unsettling attention he gives her. Morning sunlight spills across the face of an apartment building, washing the windows in pale gold. At exactly 06:30, a phone alarm blares with an aggressively cheerful intro, loud enough to feel like an attack. A hand shoots out from under the blankets and slaps the alarm into silence. Kim Seol lets out a miserable groan and abruptly cuts herself off, as if even the sound of her own voice is too much effort. She wonders aloud why it is morning already, then buries her face deeper into the pillow like she plans to stay there forever. At 06:32, she finally forces herself upright. She drags her body out of bed, yawns long and messily, and shuffles across her room with half-lidded eyes. In another location, surveillance monitors glow faintly in the dimness. As Seol passes through her room, she murmurs that she is so sleepy, sounding like she might fall asleep standing up. At 06:34, in a different room, Jeong Su-hyeon finishes a set of inverted push-ups using metal handles. Sweat drips steadily to the floor beneath him. He lowers himself with controlled precision and lands lightly, as if his muscles never tremble. Nearby, his superior sits up, equally groggy. With a teasing tone, she comments that his abs look especially defined this morning. Then she grumbles that she meant to check on Seol earlier, but woke up too late. Su-han replies calmly that she does not need to worry, because he already checked, adding that he handled it on her behalf. On the monitors, Seol appears stumbling out of her room with, "So sleepy," practically written across her expression. The blue-haired woman jolts upright in disbelief. She starts rambling that it will soon be time for washing up and personal hygiene, and her panic spikes when Seol begins changing her clothes on screen. Later, Su-hyeon stands under a shower and exhales, as if he can finally breathe. He states that he can relax now. From outside the bathroom, the blue-haired woman giggles and remarks that nobody asked for this scene, but she personally enjoys it anyway. Su-hyeon steps out with a towel draped over his shoulder and asks who she is talking to, his voice as flat as ever. At breakfast, she compliments his cooking and says that it is always good. Su-hyeon answers calmly that preparing proper meals is part of the mission. In Seol's apartment, a small note sits beside a bowl, reminding her to eat breakfast before school. Seol sits at the table, watching a video on her phone while she eats. When she finishes, she stares toward her room without speaking. After a few seconds pass, she simply announces that she is leaving now. Su-hyeon heads out wearing his uniform. From behind him, a sleepy farewell drifts through the apartment, stretched out by a long yawn. On the way to school, Seol's friend calls out and says that she saw something hilarious earlier that morning. A short distance away, Su-hyeon scans his surroundings and silently records that there are no abnormalities along the route. As the girls keep chatting, Seol's friend remarks that someone is absolutely ridiculous. Near the school gates, Su-hyeon performs another quiet assessment and again notes that there are no abnormalities. Suddenly, Fatty charges in with overly dramatic energy. He delivers an exaggerated greeting, wishes Su-hyeon a good morning, and asks whether everything is normal today as well. Su-hyeon's expression does not shift as he states that there are no abnormalities in the classroom either. Inside, Yang Se-hor touches up her makeup. She looks up and warmly greets Su-han. Su-han returns the greeting without hesitation. Si-hwa leans over his desk, her cheeks faintly pink, and asks whether he always arrives this early. At 07:54, while Su-han is continuing to confirm safety conditions, the atmosphere tilts into something unusual. Si-hwa claims that it is nothing major, but she asks whether what he said yesterday was serious. Su-han tilts his head slightly and asks what he said yesterday. Fatty flushes bright red and nearly vibrates with excitement at the sight of Sawa speaking so close to Su-han, as if he is watching a romance scene in real life. After a heavy pause, Siwa pushes forward. With shy intensity, she says that yesterday he told her she was more attractive than Seol. Her cheeks burn as she cups her face and waits. Su-hyeon states calmly that yes, that is what he meant. At that exact moment, Seol and Hyuna enter the classroom. Seol asks what is being served for lunch, and Hyena teases her by asking whether she is already thinking about food. Sehwa's expression tightens. Inside her head, she notes that Kim Seol chose the worst possible moment to appear. Sehwa leans across Su-hyeon's desk again, but this time there is a sharp edge to her movement. Su-hyeon registers the shift immediately, interpreting it as unmistakable aggression. He shouts for Sehwa to stop. Chairs scrape loudly as heads turn in unison. In one swift motion, Su-hyeon grabs Sehwa's wrists and forces her back slightly. He warns her clearly that she must not harm Kim Seol. He adds that even if Sehwa might be more attractive than Seol, that does not give her the right to hurt her. Sehwa blushes furiously and asks whether he could at least release her hands. Before saying something like that, Seol completely misreads the scene. She screams at Su-hyeon to stop, calls him a psycho, and launches a powerful kick that sends him flying backward. A startled groan escapes him as he hits the floor. Seol demands to know why he has not improved at all and asks what he thinks he is doing. Su-hyeon exhales weakly and says that it hurts. Someone nearby sighs with exhausted resignation, as if this has become routine. Sehwa clutches her arm, her face still red. She silently questions what just happened and why her heart had raced so fast in the middle of it. Morning classes begin. No abnormalities are reported. At lunch, students stare openly at Su-hyeon's tray. A towering pile of food sits on it, like he is feeding an entire squad. People ask what that even is and joke that he eats like a farmhand. At 1200, he sets the tray down. Fatty declares that he will challenge Su-hyeon to a battle-eating contest. Su-hyeon calmly replies that it does not seem like his style, but he accepts. In his mind, the rule is simple: meals are vital during missions and must be consumed efficiently. At 12:02 the contest begins. Both boys shovel food with shocking speed. By 20:04, it is already finished. Su-hyeon stands, returns his tray, and walks away as if nothing happened. Fatty freezes mid-chew, sputtering in disbelief while still chewing. Seol watches from a distance and wonders how Su-hyeon can eat that much and still stay slim. Across the cafeteria, Seol's friend cheerfully comments that the food is good and talks to Seol. Seol stares back blankly, clearly unsettled and still stuck on what she saw. Back in class, the teacher explains that if they use the previous formula, the problem becomes simple. Seol's head begins to droop over her desk. Fifth period passes without incident. After that, the classroom explodes into noise. Students shout advice about kicking harder, catching better, passing faster. Someone brags about missing the squishies. Another student excitedly shows Su-hyeon a newly purchased model gun. Sixth period becomes even louder. Students yell about fighting with Yacha. Someone panics that they are actually fighting. Another boasts that the model gun's weight feels almost real. During cleaning time, a terrified voice begs someone to stop just as a dramatic whirlwind kick slices through the air. Laughter erupts across the room like a wave. Su-hyeon's expression remains unchanged as he reports that there are no anomalies during afternoon classes. Seol leans back with a tired sigh and asks why their class is always so loud. Her friend replies that the noise is not the real issue, implying something worse without saying it directly. A teacher's warning echoes through, stating that students must not go anywhere unusual and must go straight home. The class lazily acknowledges the instruction. It is confirmed that Seol will go home under Lee Han-a's escort. A check-in asks whether Seol plans to stop anywhere. The response states that she is going directly home. Soo-yeon is dismissed as well and told to return. At 17:40 classes end. Seol walks out with her friend while the two of them debate dinner options. Chicken is suggested as the leading choice. A final internal report is filed stating that the mission concluded with no anomalies. Hyena scoffs at what she considers not overthinking. She mutters that calling it no anomalies is pathetic. She notes that An Tae-min did not attend school today and questions why, because he had no reason to be absent. She decides that Su-hyeon must not be the first to notice Tae-min's disappearance. She promises herself that the next time Tae-min appears, she will strike first. At sunset, An Tae-min walks beside a girl. He asks whether it is really safe for her to wander around like this. The girl answers with a distracted hum, then asks whether her face has ever been made public in the South. She adds that from the puppet state's point of view, she remains a top priority figure and tells him that he should be more careful. She turns toward him with a faint smile and addresses him as Comrade An Tae-min, asking whether her presence makes him uncomfortable. Tae-min panics instantly. He insists that it does not, lifting his hands as if he is surrendering. The girl gently tells him that he does not need to do that and encourages him to relax. She gazes up at the glowing sky and quietly states that one day the rotten hierarchy of North Korea will collapse, and that here, in this place, it means nothing at all.